Good evening, councillors, officers and members of the public. Welcome to this evening's North Area Planning Committee. Please be aware that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the Council's YouTube channel, and I welcome all viewers joining us online. I'll just run through some housekeeping rules. Can I request that mobile phones are either set to silent or switched off for the duration of the meeting? I'll run through the protocol for member and public participation and the rules of debate. Please note that the Chair's ruling during the debate will be final. If you have registered to speak, I will introduce you by name and invite you to address the meeting at the appropriate time. There's a seat there for public speakers when you to address the meeting. The Development Management Officer will introduce the item relating to the planning application and summarise the main points. When this has been completed, I will then invite members of the public who have registered to speak to the item to address the meeting. Members of the committee will then be given the opportunity to ask for clarification from speakers, and the item will then be moved and seconded and debated before a vote is taken. So the first item on the agenda this evening is the election of Vice Chair. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Marks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to propose Councillor Robin Carter.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jelly.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to second Robin Carter, Councillor Robin Carter, as Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you. All those in favour? All right. Thank you. I've just been told that I need to ask if there are any other nominations. No. All those in favour of Councillor Carter? Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Well, welcome. And I think you'll do a very good job. Are there any apologies for absence?
No apologies, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, members' declarations of interest. Members obviously should be coming to this meeting with an open mind and have not predetermined any of the applications. So can I therefore ask if members have any declarations to make? Thank you. Agenda item 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of January. Are members happy for me to sign those as a correct record of the meeting? Thank you. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Marks. And a seconder? Thank you. And everyone's in favour. Thank you. And that leads us on to the planning applications. And the first application this evening is NK/2023/0079 Westview 43 Kettering Road, Rothwell. And can I invite Natalie Price to introduce the report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The first item on the agenda is for Westview 43 Kettering Road. The proposal is for the creation of a 7-bed HMO with alterations to the porch and some of the openings, and the construction of a construction of a 2-bedroom dwelling. Just go into the site. The site is located, it's a 3-storey property, detached property, located on the corner junction with Kettering Road and Gordon Street. The property currently is set out as a HMO. I've got another photo of the site further into Gordon Street. The property at the moment has a 1-storey sort of timber-framed extension to the rear. This is the site, the proposed site plan. As you can see, the surrounding area is characterised by semis and 1 or 2 detached properties. These are just the existing plans of the site showing the existing layout of the HMO. You'll see the ground floor sort of communal areas of the HMO run into the existing timber extension to the rear of the site. I'll get to the proposed. This is the existing sort of elevations of the site. This is the proposed block plan of the proposal. I'll go to the proposed scheme. So the proposed scheme, here, what we can see here to the main property would be the introduction of a new front porch and the sort of relocation of the entrance. The main building will be set out with 7 bedrooms for HMO use. All of those bedrooms will have en suites. At ground floor and basement level, we've got our communal areas, so living and kitchen. I'll show that on the plan. So you've got the main part, which is to the front, the L shape. You've got all your communal on the ground floor with 1 bedroom, accessible bedroom on the ground floor. On the upper floors of that HMO, again, it's just the first and the second floors are laid out with the bedrooms and the en-suites attached. The second part of this development, is the proposed house to the rear. The proposed house has been designed to be 2-storey. It takes its design cues from the main house, sort of replicating the gable ends, the bay features to the property there. And it's to be laid out, again, with the communal sort of areas on the lower floors. It's to the back here. And then the upper floors the first floor set out as a bedroom and a bathroom with a room and a loft. The main part of this proposal that I wanted to talk about was the car parking layout. So for this scheme, the proposal requires 13 parking spaces. Only 12 have been provided on site. 9 of which will go towards the sort of 9 rooms that have now been sort of developed on the site, with the additional spaces for visitor parking. So we're 1 short on visitor spaces here. The proposal is to include cycle storage. The cycle storage is to be set to the sort of car parking area, but this is to be confirmed by condition. So in the condition, we'll get further details of what that will look like, how it will be secured, and so on and so forth. And then the other part of the proposal is for the new sort of refuse layout. So on the plan at the moment, to the front here, it shows the bins to the fronting onto Kettering Road. These are quite large bins because of the intended use for sort of a mixture of HMO use. They are going to be sort of your sort of 1,000-litre plus sort of bins. So the idea of this, the HMO management company would push the bins to the rear of the site towards Gordon Street. And if you can see in the rear corner, just next to number 2 Gordon Street, there's a set down area. So the refuse bins will be pushed back there and collected by the sort of refuse servicing team from Gordon Street. In regards to the sort of neighbouring properties, 47, the nearest neighbours is number 47 Kettering Road and number 2 Gordon Street. In regards to 47 Kettering Road, the actual extension has been sort of reduced in sort of its footprint. If you see on this plan here, you can see sort of a sort of faint outline. That's the original outline of the original single-storey timber shed, which I discussed earlier, which you can see on the plans. That's to be demolished. The house is actually to be sort of set forward away from the boundary, and I think overall it'll be set away from the boundary of number 47. It'd be set away from number 47 by 2.5 metres. The windows to be introduced on the side to number 47 to the new house will mainly serve sort of bathrooms and non-habitable rooms. So these will also be sort of conditioned to be obscured. To the main dwelling where we've got the HMO, the only sort of main alterations to number 47 is just a change of a window to French doors at ground floor. Those doors would provide sort of access to and from the kitchen. To the other side, which I wanted to discuss, number 2 Gordon Road, which is to the rear of, Gordon Street, towards the rear of the site. Again, there's some distance from the new house. You're looking at about 13 metres in distance from where our new house is proposed to the house at number 2 Gordon Street. and the application has been recommended for approval as the proposal is located in a sustainable site location in the town centre. The design is in keeping with the character and appearance of the property, and the proposal would certainly bring the property back into use, and the application is recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, did you want to add something?
Sorry, I should have actually added. There's some photos of the site as well to give you sort of a more sort of clearer sort of idea. That's the front of the site from Kettering Road. This is the sort of porch area that's going to be sort of redone here. And this is sort of some pictures of the side. So that building at the back there is to be demolished, and this is where our new sort of two-storey property is to be proposed to the back. And this is just some more pictures of the site. The site is in need of sort of an upgrade. This is to show the existing relationship between number 47 and the application site to the back. Again, that distance there will be a little bit further because this will be removed here. And this is just further into the gardens of further into the gardens of Kettering, just to show the different structures there. And this is looking back at 2 Gordon Street from the site. And that's it.
Thank you. Just before we go on, I know you spoke earlier about condition 9, and I didn't hear you mention that.
My apologies. So there is an update to my report. I'd like to add a condition relating to the refuse storage, just to confirm where that's going to be located and its position. I'd also like to update in regards to the cycle parking at condition 9, is it?
It is condition 9.
Condition 9 states that there should be 13 spaces, but that's an error. It should actually be 9, so it's actually per room. So there's actually 9 rooms, so we're proposing 1 cycle space per room on the site. So it's just to confirm in the condition, we'll be looking for 9 cycle parking spaces, not 13. My apologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are 4 registered speakers for this application. Each third-party speaker has 3 minutes. The ward councillor has 5, and the applicant will have 6 minutes to balance that out. So in the interest of balancing that. So I'll invite speakers to come and give their speech to the committee. Would Louise Hawkley, who's a third-party objector, like to come? Yes, if you'd like to come and sit there. And when you're ready, you have 3 minutes, but get yourself comfortable.
Hello. So first, I've got a series of questions, really, I suppose, more than a speech, in honesty. So I'm going to set it out as, perhaps if it's meant to be a speech, things I don't understand. So I don't understand how it can be put in the report that the windows of the new dwelling will not impact our privacy in our garden and in our home. Nobody has come to our property to look from where we would be. We are number 2 Gordon Street, and from the plans that we have seen, it would appear that certainly the upper bay window on the new dwelling would look directly into my bedroom window, would look directly into the small courtyard garden that we have at the top of the property, which is the only place that we're not particularly overlooked, but we will be now if this new dwelling goes ahead. It will look into our kitchen, it will look into our lounge, so we will lose privacy. And I'd like to know who decided and on what basis that we won't have that privacy loss. The second point I'd like to make is about the parking. And I think I've raised this on numerous occasions. The parking in Gordon Street is terrible. We've left this evening. We know that when we get back, we will not have a parking space outside our house or anywhere near our house because we've already got quite a lot of development around us. So there are already flats opposite us that have a parking scheme that means that the residents of those flats can't really use their own parking, and so they're forced out onto the street. Parking is not just at a premium, it is impossible where I live. This will make it worse. There's no real idea either about where the height of that parking is going to be. in terms of, like, so my garden is lower than it is where the parking will be. So when people are trying to manoeuvre, there's a risk that those cars could go through the wooden fence and into my garden. That's one concern. The other concern is that if they aren't using their parking, or if they've got, as the highways pointed out, if 2 people in one of those 7 bedrooms, that's 14 cars potentially. Add the extra 4 for the other 2 bedrooms in the new dwelling, you've got 18 cars. And that's before you add any visitors. And are they really going to always use their own parking in their own parking bays? Or if some of them find that tricky, are they going to be on the street? Is there going to be a need for any further yellow lines to protect the visibility and splay that you're going to need to allow people to access this site, which is tricky, and turning in and out will be awkward. And so is there going to be further double yellow lines, further limiting, again, the parking for Gordon Street residents? That hasn't been addressed that I can see. I think you've answered the question about the cycles, but where are they going to go, considering you haven't even got enough parking spaces? I'd be interested to hear that response. And the bin storage. So if you're really planning to put the bins where you're accessing in and out with the cars, is that going to be possible? Are they going to stay there? We've had problems with rats and vermin from 43 Kettering Road in the past, and I'd really rather that we didn't again. And then coming on to my final point of things, I don't really understand what first occupation means. There's lots of conditions here where nothing can be done and it can't be first occupied until. It has been occupied in the boarded up state that you've seen on those photographs for years.
Thank you. Can you wrap up?
Thank
That's
you.
your 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Would you mind just staying put while, just in case members have any questions of clarification? Thank you very much. Do any members have any questions of clarification? Councillor Riley?
Yeah, hi, good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, can you just tell us a little bit, you mentioned about the parking, how the parking's congested there already. Can you just explain to people that probably don't know that area of Rothwell, what you mean by the flats in and around the area? So you could just sort of elaborate that a little bit for us.
So it's a... Do you want me to...
No, it's quite, what's...
It's just to clarify anything that was said.
Yeah, because she mentioned about the flats, so we need a bit of clarification about what she's talking about. Is that question okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. So it's a Victorian street that when we moved in 20 years ago, it had the shoe factory. So Grew Cox used to be like a shoe factory opposite. That was developed and turned into flats. So that big shoe factory is turned into flats, and then that's one building. Then they knocked down what was an office building and built more flats. So I think, from memory, it's 55 dwellings that now exist on Gordon Street, which is effectively a Victorian street. So, but because what happened was the parking that was provided at the back of those flats for the flats residents is now NCP parking controlled. And so we can't park there, we get a £100 fine. But the people in the flats equally find it very difficult to park there because there's limits to 1 car per household, and that they have to be registered at that household, and the visitors parking is on an app, so it's not easy for everybody to access, and it's paid up front, and then they can register each car to run down per hour. And so it means that anybody with a second car, anybody who's not registered as living there, parks on the street.
Thank you. Any other questions of clarification for members? No. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, then. Oh, I'll leave that.
Stephen Tatton to come forward. Thank you. Again, when you're ready, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chair. I make no apologies for repeating a lot of what has just been said. In a previous life, I lived and worked in a fortified police station in South Ormore. I patrolled the border between the People's Republic of China and Hong Kong and worked in custodial establishments. The one thing that they all have in common is a high fence, a high wall, or a high building, all designed to restrict access, egress and sight. These structures can be very oppressive. If the new build is given permission, it will in effect put a similar barrier to those already highlighted, which will in turn make our garden into a no-go zone. The ground level of number 47 sits approximately 60 centimetres below that of West View, and for every metre that it goes up, it's an extra 0.6 metres for us. This will raise the eaves to approximately 5.2 metres and the ridge to 9.3 metres. There is talk of opaque glazing to be used and that it will be a bathroom or a stairway, but this doesn't negate the impact that an individual within the property will be able to look down on the gardens of Gordon Street or Lower Kettering Road through an open window. This will have a negative impact on us and the usage of the garden. When we moved into 47 Kettering Road in October 98, at that time Westview was a family home and Growcox was a factory shop. There was no parking issues at this time until the factory was converted into flats along with a new build. This increased the congestion on Gordon Street due to the increase in vehicles. The current situation is that the street parking on Kettering Road footpath and Gordon Street has reached saturation point. For disclosure, I am part of that problem. The lack of parking is a concern. The HMO will have 7 double bedrooms, which could occupy more than one individual. The house could accommodate up to 4 individuals. In the committee report at 7.4.4, the case officer details the parking standard which it follows would require 13 spaces at a minimum. At 7.4.5, it is noted that there will only be 12 spaces, one short of the standard. I feel that even if 13 spaces are provided, it will not meet the needs of the development. If the committee allows one space to slip at this stage, it would thereby set a precedence going forward. What will it be next time, 2 or 3 spaces that we allow slip? In conclusion, at 7.3, it talks of promoting a healthy and well-being with a high standard of amenities for existing and future users. 7.3.2, it seeks to ensure that development prevents harm to the residents' amenities of the neighbouring properties, such as by reason of loss of sight or overlooking. I do not feel that either statement has been met and that the plan is detrimental to neighbours and the surrounding area, and would urge the committee to reject the plan as proposed.
Thank you very much. Would you mind just staying there for... Do members have any questions of clarification? Mr Tatton? No. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Hakewell, if you'd like to come forward. You have 5 minutes when you're ready.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee, for the opportunity to come and address you tonight. I don't personally think a safe decision can be made tonight based on the information on the website, given plans dated January 2023, although they have been updated, but the original design and access statement still shows 2 houses where, in fact, one is now proposed. Equally, on the photographs, the date of those photographs is the 24th of May 2023, 10 months ago. I've looked at the criteria for a site visit, and I have here, Chairman, a copy of the Council's proposal for a site visit. I actually think that those criteria work very well in this circumstance, and I'd like to ask the committee to defer the decision on this and bring it back to the next appropriate planning committee after a site visit. What the site visit will do is members can see the parking, waste storage, amenity space and the impact on neighbours that we've already heard in person on site. I hope that the applicant might agree to a deferral in his comments because after all that applicant is going to be the neighbour of the people we've met here and many others. It will also give the applicant an opportunity to provide final plans that have been requested here tonight. This is 10 months on about the bin storage. So we could actually, coming back here after a site visit, see the plans, not be asking to condition them. Our role as councillors is to interpret the plans in such a way as to be understandable to members of the community, who most likely will be involved in planning for the first and maybe, in their view, hopefully last time in their lives. I believe that the committee owes it to the community to defer for a site visit and ensure that all the plans are available, up to date and easily understood. To answer colleagues' question about parking, it is quite simply a nightmare. Chairman, I've driven past, or at least gone past that site for over 50 years during my school days and other days. and it is the entrance to Rothwell, high-sided both sides, and parking there is a nightmare for people both on Kettering Road and on Gordon Street. So if you want to know what the parking's like, it's a nightmare. It's never easy to know when our professional colleagues are coming to a decision on balance just how close that decision for a recommendation is. Clearly, the committee has the final decision. This could be a very finely balanced decision, and a site visit will help. Members will see from the application history that there's been a bewildering number of options and plans, some approved, some refused, which have resulted in tonight's application coming to committee. It is confusing to me and very much more confusing to members of the community who have submitted representations, not least the location of the waste bins, which gives it a commercial look. Councillor Brown, my colleague ward councillor, has asked for this application to come to committee as it has become, quote, quite a contentious application. A consultation was carried out to put double yellow lines around the entrance to Gordon Street, but I can't see any reference to that in this agenda tonight. But it has been carried out, and as far as I know, it's going to be done. I also can't find the results of the parking beat survey requested by Highways on the web. Where is that parking beat survey? It's here from the website, and it says that that should be carried out. I don't think any of us have seen it, or it's been done. Where is that survey, which would help to answer this question? Maybe it could be done between now and a deferred return. Highways are also concerned about the separate property as well as the HMO. No doubt whatsoever that Westview deserves to be brought back into its state of good occupation, but putting the additional house in and leaving very little amenity space for those residents is not good. I genuinely think there will be a potential for social unrest between the existing long-term neighbours you've heard from and the new residents who may occupy the renovated development, mainly because it is really overdevelopment of the site. Please resolve to defer, have a site visit, meet the residents on site to point out the issues, and come back and make a decision with the full information. I don't believe the committee has the full information tonight, and it's not due to the passage of time. 10 months we've been waiting for this to come forward, and as you'll see from reading the website, some residents just had 5 days notice of it coming who were waiting for updated plans and files on this. So thank you, committee, for listening to me. Passionate about Rothwell, passionate about this site. I think we can do much better, but I certainly think we should have a site visit so that anyone who doesn't know it can see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hakewell. If you wouldn't mind just waiting there and see if members have any questions of clarification for you. I know you mentioned the previous applications, but you will be aware, I'm sure, that each application has to be considered on its own merit. So, members, does anybody have any questions of clarification? Councillor Sims.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I have clarification on the parking beat survey? I was going to ask that question myself before it was brought up.
That's for debate later.
I'd just like to know if we've done one.
Well, that's a question. You're asking questions of clarification.
That is clarification.
Sorry, of Councillor Hakewell, not clarification in the committee report. So you can ask that question when we come to the debate. Thank you.
Well, I think you're wrong.
If there are no further questions, thank you very much, Councillor Hakewell. And then could I ask Daniel Howes, the applicant, to come forward? Thank you. You have 6 minutes when you're ready.
Thank you, Councillor Chairperson. My name's Daniel Howes. I'm obviously put the scheme in. Look, I acknowledge that there's been problems with the site historically before I come on board with this site, because I'm relatively new, obviously, on this site and trying to lick it into shape, and there have been issues on this site. Now, just obviously, we have got permission. There is permission for an 11-bedroom HMO there at the minute. So the scheme will reduce that to 7. It's got the permission, it's got the parking permission, so we could default back to 11-bedroom HMO. The technical problem is, how's it going to look? This building needs an extraordinary amount of money thrown at it to get this building licked into shape. I'm on about reducing the numbers of the HMO, not upping it. Also, the car parking is there. The bin storage for the previous 11-bedroom HMO, which was approved, was against the gable end of number 2 Gordon Street. So we wanted to keep it as far away from the houses as possible, and that's why we put it up the other end, to keep it away from the domestic houses. The cycle store is actually designated into the porchway on the existing house. The wall, the ground levels are, all the ground levels and all the surveys are all there. The ground levels are not being raised in the slightest. There will be at the current level for the car parking. The wall at the front will be reduced, so there'll be more visibility as people are pulling in and out. Gordon Street, I admit, is a nightmare of parking. So we are trying to get, obviously, it off the Gordon Street and into that area. Predominantly, again, HMOs are predominantly less people have cars, more people to get the bus and bike. So the building has fallen into huge bad condition. I don't know if any of you know me at all, but I own Eckland Lodge Business Park. Now, I build offices and factories for a living, and very, very high-quality offices and factories. I'm looking at this being a showpiece, coming into Rothwell, you know, and absolutely doing this up. Or we could default back to 11 bedrooms, stuffing it with people, and maximising it that way. So I want to bring it down, and also we're looking at young professionals at this. You know, I'm looking at probably Kettering General Hospital being done really nice, really as a Victorian house, and young professionals being in this house. At the minute, it's currently occupied. There's out of 4 people in the house, there's only 1 person with a car, and he only turns up at weekends. So predominantly HMOs have less car parking, have less people with cars. I'm not saying they don't have cars, I'm just saying predominantly they have less people with cars because they're usually younger and get the bus and stuff like that. And again, the bin storage, I think on the previous application was against the gable end of number 2, and we want to shove it over. Quality building, building for it. Yeah, and I think that's it. Sorry, sorry if I got.
Thank you very much. If you wouldn't mind just waiting there and see if members have any questions of clarification. Councillor DL.
Thank you, Chair. Just one question of clarification. When you had it fully occupied with 11 bedrooms, what was the residency, number? How many people did you have in residence then?
I've never had it fully occupied with 11 bedrooms. It's only got 4. It's only occupied with 4 bedrooms at the minute. It needs obviously changing around to do the 11. I never wanted to do the 11, so I've never done it. So there's only 4 in it at the minute. I think the previous person, again, that was before I took it over, I think he had probably 5 bedrooms let.
Chair, can I just come back on that, please? Yeah, just a further point. Are you suggesting or saying then that there'll be 1 kitchen for 14 residents in the main house?
There'll be 1 kitchen and lounge for 7 bedrooms, and the kitchen and the lounge is absolutely huge. It actually goes from the front of the building right to the back of the building, and that is there's obviously a defined area that these bedrooms have to have, and also living area, and it far exceeds the requirement, whatever that requirement is. Please forgive me, I don't know what that requirement is, but I mean it's absolutely huge. I mean, that lounge is just, I should imagine the living quarters stretch from me to that wall over there for the kitchen and the living quarters.
Thank you. Councillor Best.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just a point that Councillor Dalzell was touching on there, though. You intimated, I think, when you spoke to us, that if you didn't get approval for the current scheme, you would revert to the previous scheme with 11 HMOs. Would that be your intention, or were you just making the point there that you could?
I think that's a question rather than that's not question that's
Well,
related.
clarification, absolutely clarification. I'm trying to understand what the gentleman meant.
I want to do this house up top notch. You know, I do my business park up top notch. I want it as 7 bedrooms. We don't want to go back to the old scheme. I don't think the old scheme was great, even though it got permission. We want to tidy it up. The pictures actually was taken by myself only 2 weeks ago, so they're not 10 months old. If the picture on the left-hand side, the left-hand side of the house there, I mean, you can see the state of that. It just needs absolutely knocking down and redoing. But yes, I took that 2 weeks ago for the planning committee. So that had come down, and we'd have a nice house, nice and sensible, and you know, this could be a beautiful house, absolutely beautiful. And it unfortunately, it does need money spending on it. But you know, I think the scheme I've done is actually better than the old scheme, personally.
No,
Can I just
sorry.
come in? You said you took the photos 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The date on there is suggested is further back than that. Was the equipment that you took the photographs, was it up to date?
Sorry, Councillor, let me clarify. I did get those photos sent to me. They're very similar to the ones we've had from 2023. There's no difference in the side view of the site. So I've used our photos that's been taken by officers instead, rather.
Sorry, I do apologise.
But they are the same. It's more or less the same views. Yes.
Councillor Best, did you want to come back? No, thank you. Thank you very much then.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, that moves us to the recommendation NK/2023/0079. For the purposes of debate and in accordance with the Council Constitution Rules 19.2 and 19.21, I will move the recommendation stated on page 9 of your agenda papers that planning permission be granted subject to conditions, which includes the additional condition regarding refuge storage, which you can find in front of you on the desk, and also in the amendment to condition 9, which specifies 13 spaces but should read 9. Do I have a seconder?
Sorry, Chair, can I ask a point?
Of course, yep.
I understand the new process, thanks, and that we have the motion before us before we debate it. And that's what we'll do. If myself or other members of the committee felt that the suggestion by Councillor Hakewill was something we'd like to follow, do we have to debate the existing motion and vote against it and then have a new motion for that? Would that be the protocol?
I can answer that for you. You can propose an adjournment of the item until the next meeting during the debate. So you wouldn't need to vote on this recommendation if you had a proposer, a seconder, and everybody voted in favour of the deferment. That would be an option.
Do I have a seconder for the recommendation, officer recommendation? Yeah, of course.
Sorry, can I just confirm the recommendation? So it says the planning permission be granted subject to conditions. Should that be subject to conditions listed in the report? Just for clarification that it's those conditions that would apply.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. So does Councillor Best?
So if there is not a seconder, can I propose that we do choose to defer it and have a site visit as proposed by Councillor Hakewill?
Yep.
Okay, I propose so. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Watts? Yeah. Can I just ask before we take a vote on that or debate that and take a vote that if advice from the solicitor? Thank you.
Sorry, simply my advice would be that when an item is deferred, as you will be well aware, there is a statutory period for determination of planning applications. And if we don't determine the application within that timescale or an agreed extension of that timescale, then there is a risk to the council that the applicant could appeal for non-determination. But I can notice in the report it doesn't state the agreed extension of time, so I'm not sure if by deferring it to the next meeting that agreed extension of time would be passed. Maybe you could clarify.
The extension of time is until the end of the week, so it's until Friday. So it was set for after this meeting had we have made a decision. Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, it's for members just to be aware that the agreed extension of time is to the end of the week. If the application isn't determined before the end of the week and no extension of time is agreed, there is a risk there that the applicant could appeal for non-determination.
Thank you. Councillor Marks.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, unless it's in the morning, I can't really do a site visit on Thursday or Friday of this week.
We're not talking about site visits yet. We're talking about the proposal on the table. Councillor DL.
Thank you, Chair. Well, we have the applicant here, and I just wondered whether we can ask the applicant while we're here. Is that allowed? Is that permissible? Whether he would accept an extension, bearing in mind that there is seems to be reservations from the committee members about this application.
My view on that is that would probably be quite an unfair thing to do, given the pressure of the individuals in the room, and he may want to take legal advice on that. So I would suggest it's probably not a fair question.
Councillor Riley.
I get what you're saying. It's an unfair thing to do, but you're actually putting the councillors in a very unfair position here by stating that comment about that the decision's got to be made by Friday, otherwise X, Y, Z happens.
Councillor Riley, that is not what was
you
said.
Always interrupt. You always interrupt me. Let me finish. You never let me speak.
Councillor Riley, I will let you speak. I just want to confirm that what you said wasn't actually what was correct. You were given legal advice, and that was if we don't determine the application by Friday, the applicant could. Wasn't that we had to determine it by Friday, and it wasn't that the applicant would. They were may.
Okay, you've already said that to me, so thanks for interrupting me, all right? You didn't need to say that to me again. You didn't let me finish. Now, what... Sorry? You let me finish now, thank you very much. Now, I think because of the nature of this project, I think we as a group have got every right to take up Councillor Hakewell's offer of going to visit the site. There's clear reservations about the site from, not just one or two just issues, but several issues. So I think personally, as a group of councillors and people that represent our communities, we should be taking the risk. Now, if this is coming into us at a very late stage, then that's up to the council. That's not our fault.
Councillor Best.
First of all, let me say, I'm sure that the applicant is genuine in his desire to resurrect and restore this building. I can tell that he is. And I'm hoping that, I know it must be frustrating because it's been a long process so far, but I'm hoping that he would, on that basis, not object to us or choose not to appeal if we decided to defer to the next meeting for a site visit. I think hopefully he understands our concerns and the residents' concerns, and that, our intention is not to block him or not to not make a determination. It's just that we feel that the application is sensitive enough for all of the members of the committee to see it.
Thank you. So, are there any other comments from councillors? Councillor Sim, sorry.
I think you forgot me. I asked earlier, and Chair, I actually agree with what Councillor Riley just spoke about we should really, in an ideal world, have more time to discuss these things, because it's always a possibility a committee could decide for a site visit if the committee want that. and we haven't got that time. And I understand the legal advice that's been given, and I actually agree with that. It would be difficult, and that could be challenged. And I don't want to see this authority and that getting unnecessarily expensive, because if it was gone to appeal for non-determination, then you could be awarded costs and that not from the applicant, and it puts us in an unfair position. And I'm not happy about that, I have to say. Going on to the parking beat survey that we did say, spoke about earlier, it refused to answer, although you did note that you asked, you let Councillor Best speak about his issue, and that it's not, you don't have to do the parking beat survey, it's advised. And all I was wanted to know if that was taken up. That was all I wanted clarification on.
I think we
And
can
I wasn't
ask.
given that.
We can ask the planning officer on that. It does say actually in the report if deemed necessary. So.
Thank you. No, that wasn't taken up. The proposal provides 12 parking spaces. It's one short. It's also proposed to provide cycle parking. The site is located in a town centre location where we encourage this sort of proposal or these sort of uses. I appreciate that obviously there are parking issues in the surrounding area, but the parking beat survey wasn't requested as the parking provided on site for the proposal was deemed sufficient.
Thank you. And I'm always very happy if members feel that a site visit would be useful on a particular application to ask for one, and we can have a site visit before the meeting. We did that a few weeks ago before the last meeting. So please get in contact with myself or officers if you'd like a site visit prior to an application coming to committee. So, Councillor Dell, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a question for the planners. I note that the BAT survey was done in June 2021. Is there any rules about it being updated at any point? Because I'm just bearing in mind it's 2024 now.
No, not on this particular application because there wasn't any sort of ecology issues that were raised from the site. Sort of in other applications, usually there is either sort of sightings of bats or something to lead us to want further information on the bats on the site. But this site, yeah, no, none. No,
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if it would help if I added a condition to the motion I had to defer, and that condition might be something along the lines of, if we were to vote for a deferral, that might be subject to a conversation after the meeting, sometime in the next few days, with the appropriate officers and the applicant to just establish if the applicant were comfortable with that.
Comfortable with
As
what?
in not, in that he would choose not to make an appeal against non-determination if we were to do that, and assuring that by the next meeting, by which time we've done the site visit, a determination would be made.
Pass over to legal advice on that.
I suppose I would just say to that in general terms, you might meet with somebody who says, no, I'm not going to appeal that, I won't do it. But it is their legal right, and they're entitled. It's a statutory right for them to appeal. So perhaps I'd question the value of any meeting to that effect.
Thank you. So we've got a proposer and a seconder to adjourn the debate to the next planning committee to allow. But we need a vote on this to allow site visit. Yep, please.
Yeah, I just want some clarification. Is there not a mechanism for a ward councillor to call an application in any way, rather than leave it until the night of the meeting?
It does have to meet the criteria, but I believe this was called in for, yeah, this reason this is on the table.
I'm talking about a site visit.
Any ward councillor can ask for a site visit, and if they feel it's helpful, then we can often, do that if we want to. Councillor Jelly.
Thank you very much, Chair. I live in Roswell myself. I've lived there for 40 years. And what the residents are saying and what Councillor Hakewell is saying is exactly right. Parking is a serious, serious issue. If we can go back to the picture of the main road, Kettering Road, there, all the way down on the left-hand side, we've now got cars parking on there on a daily basis, and it obstructs the traffic because there are just so many cars there that cause this problem with parking. And I think, you know, if members are concerned about it, it might be a good idea to defer it and have a site visit so they can see firsthand what it's like. That is a very narrow road. The path the other side is only around about a third of the width of the other path. So,
Thank you. Well, that's what we've just had. We've had a proposal and a seconder, but for an adjournment to allow for a site visit. But we need to have a vote on this. So, yes.
I put my hand up earlier. Thank you.
I called you earlier, but I didn't see your hand go up again, so I'm sorry.
Well, have to put it up every time, do I? Okay, I'll remember that next time. And that, my concern is on the, as I said about the parking beat survey and about the chance of being going to appeal for non-determination, and that we've been left in a very precarious situation, and that I understand what the case officer has said about the parking beat survey wasn't deemed necessary, and that because you want to encourage people to use sustainable transport and whatever. But the fact is, people do what they want. The highway does not belong to the public in such a way. Anyone can park anywhere they want unless there's a restriction in place. And that's so if people have got cars, they're going to park as near as possible to where they live. That's just what happens. We can't do anything about that, really, unless we put double yellow lines down. I don't think it's right. I wouldn't vote for an adjournment for a site visit because I think it puts us in a very difficult situation in terms of putting taxpayers' expense. It's not necessary, and that I wouldn't want to do that. It's not fair on the public. And it's also not fair that we have to make a determination tonight because members of this committee clearly are not familiar with the site and would like to see it. But we have to. So I wouldn't vote for a site visit this evening, but I feel very sorry that I've been left in this position to do that. I'd like that minuted, please.
Thank you. But of course, members can go and visit any site as long as it's not on private property, so they can, and if we want an official site visit, members, please do ask. Councillor DL.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just wondered whether, if we do approve a site visit, will that include the inside of the property? So I know that there are issues around the parking, for example, and that's a major concern. My concern actually is the living standards within the property. There's going to be 14 people to one kitchen. And, you know, when are they going to get a chance to cook a meal, you know, in an evening? Are they having a queuing system? Or, you know, what is that going to be? So what I would like to see is kind of the amenities which are going to be put into this house for the residents. Because, to be honest with you, I've got serious concerns about the quality of the standard of living that these people are going to have in this property. That's my concern. So please, if we are going to on a site visit, please could we look inside, because it doesn't sit right with me that you've got 14 people in one kitchen.
Thank you. Mr. Healy, would you like to come?
So to give you a quick rundown, the requirements in relation to HMOs and the provision of cooking facilities are determined by the number of occupants and effectively the square meterage of communal space and the number of cooking facilities provided within it. And that's covered by the licensing as well as by planning.
That's great, thank you. The diagrams, I have very bad eyesight. I can't see those. They weren't included in our pack. I don't know what your square meterage is for your kitchen there. I can't actually work that out, and I wasn't provided with that information. So, you know, just having a visit to see something like that would be really helpful.
So I think, Councillor, the current configuration of the ground floor wouldn't give you much help there. So we may need to provide you some extra information on what's on the proposed drawings instead.
Thank you, and I can just come back to legal as well.
Sorry, I just wanted to assist members in their decision whether to attend a site visit in this instance, just to read out the Planning Committee site visit protocol, which states that site visits may be used to assist members of planning committees in understanding the issues concerning the site and or the area around the site. And visits should only be conducted where it is felt the complexities of the site require clarification, either prior to committee or having considered the report, you feel that more clarification is required. And it goes on to state as well that site visits can cause delay and additional cost for both the developer and the council and should only be used where the expected benefit is substantial. But as members, that I'm just quoting from the site visit protocol, that's a decision for you to take. I just wanted you to be aware of the parameters in which you should determine that a site visit is necessary.
Councillor Watts.
Thank you, Chair. I know it was only 10 minutes ago, but as far as I remember, Councillor Hakewell made the very sensible recommendation that we make a site visit. Councillor Best says, can we do that? The answer was yes. He made the proposal, I seconded it, and suddenly it's a big deal. Why wasn't that advice that you just read out there given to us before, so that maybe we didn't, if we thought it was that dangerous, that we wouldn't have made, Councillor Best might not have proposed it, and I certainly wouldn't have seconded it. I feel like we've been slightly misled.
I would still have proposed it.
Councillor Best, I think.
Sorry, I wasn't aware before the meeting. I was given no indication that a site visit or deferment of the application was proposed, so I wasn't able to provide any advice before the meeting. The fact that the adjournment has been proposed and seconded is more an opportunity for you as members to debate that idea. Proposing and seconding the site visit and the adjournment isn't an indication that that's what you want. It's something to open up the debate, to allow members to discuss, as you are doing, the pros and cons of that, what the risks might be in doing that, or what the benefits might be for doing that. And this is the appropriate time to have that discussion. And it's for me to advise you on what's in the Constitution and what any legal risks might be with the decision that you're making. But as members, that's a decision for you to take and to debate.
Thank you, that's helpful. Best.
Yes, just to that point, I understand the risks involved or potential risks involved if we choose to go ahead with a deferment and site visit. But I also understand the risks and the harm done if we make a wrong determination tonight otherwise.
Thank you. Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair. I think we're not carefully, we're going around in circles here. I think we need to sort of clear up where we're going to go with it. Either we defer it to a site visit and go from there, because I think there's a lot of concerns here. So I think we really should go that way.
If members, if there are no more questions from members, we've got a proposer, we've got a seconder, we can go to the vote. So just to be clear, we've got a proposer and seconder to adjourn the debate to the next planning committee. All those in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? Thank you very much. That's carried, and officers will be in touch to arrange a date, convenient date. Thank you. Thank you very much for attending this evening. Yeah. Thank you. Can we have one meeting, please? Thank you, councillors. So that leads us on to the next item on the agenda, NC/23/00273/ excuse me, please. Could we have quiet? So that's NC/23/00273/C0U, land adjacent to 15 Kettering Road, Stanion. We have no speakers on this, and could I ask Troy Healy to introduce the report? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is before the committee this evening because there's been 5 neighbour objections which raise substantive planning issues. The applications for a change of use of a former B1 office building to residential, 1-bedroom, single-storey dwelling. So the site location plan shows us the site is set back from Kettering Road, Stanion at a considerable distance. It stands alone as a detached building. The aerial photography gives us a clearer idea of its location and relationship with other existing residential properties in the area. So you'll have to forgive the drawings, councillors. The site orientation in these is not exactly how I would like it. So this is actually showing you a kind of reverse of its relationship to the rest of it, in that the garden area is actually to the south of the building. There is, as you can see on the drawings, an existing covered area to the rear of the site, which on these proposed site plans is removed to form the garden area of the property. So the current floor plans have an existing workshop, stroke office, and agricultural store, stroke shop. The proposed elevations are effectively the same as the existing building, minus the covered area to the rear, with some very minor alterations in relation to openings at the front and side. So internally it meets the national minimum space standards and is laid out in a fairly sensible fashion, considering the amount of floor space available within the existing building envelope. So this takes us on an approach to the site from Kettering Road. As you can see, you can just about make out an element of the site here. Open field to the side. So this is the view from the road itself. There's an adjoining property, or the nearest residential property, should I say. And that's looking back down the access track. The key determining issues in relation to it, to the approval of the principle of the development, design and impact on the character of the area, impact on neighbouring amenity, highways access, and environmental. So the site is located outside the settlement boundary of Stanion, but the nature of its proximity to residential properties and the permission that it was, the long-standing permission of business use, the change to single residential dwelling would be acceptable in principle, subject to complying with the development plan, plus with the relevant conditions that are being imposed, particularly in relation to possible site contamination. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. In terms of its impact on the surrounding area, there are very limited views to the site, particularly from Kettering Road itself, but it is quite exposed along the access road and somewhat exposed in relation to views from the surrounding fields. So there's limited proposed external changes to the building, but we do feel that they do present an improvement to it and are in keeping with the character of the area. The the change in relation to the covered area to the rear into a garden gives good access to space, private amenity space for the proposed residents. And it's not considered that a additional dwelling would be at odds with the prevailing character of the area, which is itself residential. It stands alone within its plot, and there are no external changes which would have any impact on neighbours in terms of shadowing, overbearing appearance or anything along those lines, and is served with appropriate amenity space. There are no windows being proposed which would have any impact on neighbouring privacy or overlooking. It is served with the existing access point from the track, which is also providing access to 15, 17 and 19, which means it is compliant in terms of the 5-unit maximum for a residential access. It's providing 1 parking space and 1 cycle storage space in accordance with policy. Cycle storage was located within the residential curtilage. Highways raised no objections, and there has been confirmation from fire, police and rescue services that there are no access-related issues in relation to their concerns. The Environmental Health Officer was concerned that there may be issues in relation to contamination from previous agricultural use, fertilisers or weed killer, etc. So there is a condition on the report for a no-dig membrane to be incorporated into the garden and landscape areas. There's no concerns raised in relation to light or noise pollution from the proposed development itself. Objections and concerns were raised by members of the public in relation to the overhead voltage cables. This is not considered to be a reason for refusal. Site's located in flood zone 1 and is low risk for flooding. It's not considered to have any flood risk and complies with policy 5. The public issues in relation, or objections in relation to access, adequacy for fire vehicles have been raised with the fire service and have been covered in the access assessment. The waste team have raised no objections in relation to access either, and that presents or deals with the other objections from local residents. So the recommendation from the case officer, from officers, is to approve subject to conditions listed within the report.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know why it had.
Sorry, I was just raising that the recommendation on the screen was different to the one in the report. So is that correct, or is this the one in the report correct?
The one in the report is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No, I didn't. No, you didn't. So, yeah. Thank you. For the purposes of debate and in accordance with the Council's Constitution, Rules 19.2 and 19.21, I move the recommendation stated on page 25 of your agenda papers that planning permission be granted subject to conditions listed in the report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Marks, thank you. Let's open up that floor up for debate. Councillor Marks?
Yes, it's an existing building. This is an improvement. There are other residences in the area. I see no substantive reason to refuse this. It should be approved.
Thank you. Nobody else wants to speak? Therefore, we've got a proposer and a seconder to grant subject to conditions listed in the report. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Votes carried. We have no urgent items to discuss, so therefore I close the meeting. Thank you very much for attending. Have a safe journey home.